I'm Anna, 40 years old, and my life has been anything but ordinary. Let's rewind to the beginning. It's just my son, Michael, and me. He's a lively 10-year-old who looks so much like his dad. His father, though, well, that's a part of my life I kept hidden, only for it to come crashing out when I least expected it. My husband, Jack, was a man with a kind heart and a complicated past. We'd known each other for what felt like forever, friends who became lovers, a familiar story, but ours had its share of bumps. Jack had been married before, but that marriage never led to children. Then fate brought us together. It felt like it was meant to be, and before long, we were married in a quiet ceremony with only close friends and family. Jack's family was, well, a mixed bag. Some were welcoming, but one person in particular, his younger sister, Laura, made things challenging. After the wedding, life was a little tense, especially with Laura around. She was always at our house, showing up uninvited, flashing that sugary sweet smile when Jack was around. But behind those smiles, there was something off. Her eyes told a different story, calculating and cold. One night, shortly after we tied the knot, Laura came by for dinner. Jack was in a good mood, chatting away, and Laura was full of praise. "Anna, this casserole is amazing. You have to give me the recipe," she said, looking directly at me. But I could feel there was something more beneath her words. "Sure, Laura. It's really simple," I responded, forcing a smile. Jack stepped out to take a call, and suddenly the atmosphere changed. Laura leaned closer, her voice dropping to a threatening whisper. "Simple, huh? Just like you. You think you fooled everyone, but not me. I know exactly what you're after." I clenched my fists under the table, trying to stay calm. "I'm not sure what you mean, Laura. Jack and I love each other. That's all there is to it." She rolled her eyes with a scoff. "Love, you saw your chance and took it. But don't forget, I'm watching you." It was always the same, this never-ending cycle of accusations and thinly veiled threats. I wanted Jack to see the truth, but I couldn't bring myself to do that. He adored his sister, and I didn't want to be the one to shatter that bond, so I kept quiet, holding on to the hope that she'd eventually come around. Michael, bless him, tried to stay out of the drama. But children are intuitive. He'd ask me, "Mom, why doesn't Aunt Laura like us?" And I'd hug him, offering him reassurance. "She's just different, sweetheart. But it's okay, because we have each other, and that's all that matters." But it wasn't okay. Every visit, every sly remark from Laura wore me down. I felt like I was living in two worlds, the happy home everyone saw, and the tense, guarded reality when Laura was around. Things came to a head one day when Laura got particularly nasty, accusing me of ruining her brother's life and insisting I'd never truly be part of the family. I couldn't take it anymore. "Look, Laura, I don't know what your issue is, but this is my home too. I'm your brother's wife, whether you like it or not. So either treat us with respect or stay away." She gave me a smirk, her eyes narrowing. "Oh, I'll be back, Anna. Someone has to keep an eye on you. Just remember, you're nothing here. You're just playing house, and I'm not fooled." After she left, I slumped against the door, feeling utterly defeated. It felt like living with a shadow, her constant toxic presence never letting us find peace. To Jack, she was sweetness itself, always complimenting my cooking, my home. But the second he wasn't looking, the mask would slip, and my heart would drop. "Playing house, Anna?" Laura would sneer when we were alone, her eyes searching for flaws. "You think you've scored big with my brother, huh?" I'd bite my tongue, forcing a smile. "Laura, I love Jack. This isn't about money or status. It's about family." "Family?" She'd scoff, flipping her hair. "Please, you and that kid are just extra baggage he decided to pick up. But don't worry, I see right through you." Her words stung, but I held it together for Jack. He was blind to Laura's true nature, or maybe he just chose to ignore it. He loved his sister despite everything, and I tried, for his sake. At family gatherings, Laura was a study in contrasts. When Jack was around, she was all smiles and praises. The moment he left, though, her true colors showed, sharp and cutting. I did my best to avoid confrontation, keeping my distance and staying composed. "Anna, why do you even bother with her?" my friend Rachel would ask, shaking her head. "She's nothing but trouble." "I know, Rach," I'd reply, sipping my coffee, "but she's Jack's sister. What else can I do? I just hope one day she'll come around." But deep down, I knew some people never change. Laura was like a storm cloud, always lurking, always threatening to burst. Still, I held on to hope. Maybe, just maybe, we'd find some common ground. As for Michael, he didn't understand the tension. He just knew her as his aunt, the one who gave him cold hugs and fake smiles. I wanted to shield him from her bitterness, to protect him from the harsh realities of family drama. He deserved to grow up without being burdened by adult resentments. And that was our life, a delicate balance of love, lies, and simmering tension. But I had no idea that the past we tried so hard to bury was about to resurface in ways none of us could predict. I couldn't let Laura win. I had to stay strong, for Jack, for Michael. I had to believe that one day, Laura would see that I was here for love, not for money or status. We were a family, not a convenience. I kept going, hoping for the day when her poisonous presence would be a distant memory. Then came the call, just like any other day, until the phone rang and our world split into before and after. "Jack's gone," they said, and with those 3 words, my heart shattered. I had to tell Michael, my sweet, innocent 10-year-old son, who still believed the world was a kind and fair place. His reaction was instant and heartbreaking, a flood of tears and disbelief. "Why, Mom? Why did he have to go?" he sobbed. And I had no answers, just a silent scream inside me, aching with emptiness as the funeral loomed closer. I was overwhelmed by an endless barrage of tasks and condolences, each one merging into the next, an unrelenting wave of responsibilities and sorrow. Through it all, Laura, Jack's sister, remained completely absent. No phone calls, no visits, only silence, as if her brother's death was merely a nuisance to her. Her disregard felt like a sharp slap, cold and cutting in the midst of our grief. When the day of the funeral came, it was a somber occasion, filled with dark attire and muffled sobs. Michael clung to me, his small hand gripping mine tightly, grounding me through the overwhelming pain. Then Laura arrived, fashionably late. She walked in wearing a sleek black dress that screamed wealth and showed little regard for the solemnity of the moment. Her expression was neutral, almost smug, as though her mere presence was a statement, not a tribute. She floated through the mourners, her demeanor entirely out of sync with the sorrow surrounding her. Her absence during the preparations, combined with her almost celebratory attire, felt like a betrayal. It seemed as though she was mocking Jack's memory. I stood there, holding Michael close, a surge of anger rising within me. How could she be so indifferent? Her brother, her flesh and blood, had just passed away, and yet she acted as if she were attending a social event. It wasn't just disrespectful, it was cruel. As the service continued, I found myself gathering quiet strength. I had to stay strong, for Michael, for myself, and for the life Jack and I had shared. I whispered a silent prayer, not just for Jack, but for myself. "Grant me strength," I pleaded silently, feeling invisible support settle over me, calming the storm within. "Help me endure this pain. Let me be the rock Michael needs as we face this together." When the final words were spoken and people began to leave, I felt a shift within me, a quiet, unwavering strength. The pain was still sharp, but my resolve was sharper. We would carry on, keeping Jack in our hearts, enduring the loss, the betrayal, and whatever else lay ahead. Laura's actions, her unsettling behavior, would be dealt with in time. But not today. Today was for mourning, for holding on to the pieces of our shattered world. As we prepared to leave the church, I knew we weren't alone. Jack lived on in our hearts, in our memories. With that knowledge, I found the courage to take the first step into an uncertain future. Just as the priest concluded the service, Laura pushed her way through the crowd, a smug grin on her face. "I have something to say," she declared, her voice cutting through the murmurs of sympathy like a knife. The room fell silent as everyone turned to face her, her eyes locked onto me and Michael. "Anna here is just a gold digger," she sneered. She attached herself to Jack the moment she saw an opportunity. "Didn't you?" Her words stung like poison, dripping with malice. The crowd murmured, some shocked, others uncomfortably nodding. Michael's grip on my hand tightened. "Mom," he whispered, his voice shaky. I squeezed his hand and whispered back, "Ignore her, Michael." Laura wasn't done. Her voice rose in anger. "And this boy," she pointed to Michael, "he's no legitimate heir. Jack never adopted him. All that money, the house, it's mine by right. I'm Jack's true family. I won't let these two take what belongs to me. Fury surged inside me. How dare you, Laura? Standing here at your brother's funeral, spitting this venom. Don't you have any shame? She laughed, a harsh, joyless sound. Shame for what? For speaking the truth? No, Anna, I'm just setting things straight. You and your boy better pack up because I'm taking back what's mine. The priest stepped forward, attempting to defuse the situation. Please, let's not do this here. This is a time for reflection and mourning. But Laura brushed him off, her defiant gaze never leaving mine. The crowd shifted uncomfortably, unwilling to intervene. Finally, Laura turned on her heel, her exit as dramatic as her entrance, leaving a heavy silence in her wake. I stood there, trembling, not from fear, but from a deep protective rage. Michael was still by my side, his little hand a constant reminder of my purpose. As the crowd began to thin, a few brave souls came forward, offering quiet words of support. Don't let her get to you, Anna. We know Jack loved you and Michael. I nodded, my throat tight with unshed tears. Thank you, I whispered. As the last mourners left, Michael and I stood together, alone yet united, gazing at Jack's freshly dug grave. We'll be okay, Michael, I said softly, more to myself than to him. No matter what she says, no matter what she does, we'll be okay. And with that, we walked away. The weight of the day pressed on us, but it didn't break us. Laura's words, her threats, they were just that, words. I wasn't going to let her tear apart what Jack and I had built, what we had promised each other and our son. This cruel display, this chaos, wouldn't define us. We were stronger than that. As we left the cemetery, I knew for sure. Laura had picked the wrong person to mess with. I would fight for Jack, for Michael, for us, and I wouldn't lose. In the days following Jack's funeral, the house felt empty. Michael wandered from room to room, his gaze distant, often stopping at things that reminded him of his father. Mom, he would say, holding up a model airplane they had built together. Dad said we fly this in the park. Just him and me. I'd pull him close, my heart breaking. I know, sweetie, we'll still take it. We'll keep flying it for him. One evening, as I struggled to prepare dinner, there was a knock at the door. I opened it to find Rachel, my closest friend, standing there with a concerned expression. Anna, how are you holding up? She asked. I shrugged, the weight of everything pressing down on me. It's tough, Rach. Laura's making everything worse, threatening to take everything we have. Rachel's face hardened. That woman's a piece of work. Don't you worry. We won't let her push you around. It was a relief to have her there, a slice of normalcy amidst the chaos. As we sat together, I vented my fears, anger, and exhaustion. Michael's so lost, Rach. He doesn't understand why his dad's gone, why his aunt is doing this, and I'm just so tired. Rachel squeezed my hand. You're stronger than you think, Anna. You've got people who care. Laura won't win. Her words gave me a boost, a reminder that I wasn't alone. But even as the days dragged on, the reality of Jack's absence and Laura's looming threat lingered over us. I would see Michael staring out the window, deep in thought. Life had to go on, though, even when every part of me wanted to stop and grieve. Bills needed to be paid, Michael needed care, and Laura's venomous words still echoed in my mind. Then, one day, like a storm, Laura barged in, slamming the door behind her, her face twisted with rage. This is ridiculous, she screamed, holding up a crumpled copy of the will. Everything to Michael. What about me, his sister? I get the leftovers. Her voice grated on me, every word like nails scratching a chalkboard, igniting a fire within. Michael was just beyond the door, his eyes full of fear. I leaned on the doorframe, my patience completely drained. Laura, this is what Jack intended. Everything's by the book, all legally sound. Her laugh was sharp and venomous. Legal? Don't make me laugh. He never even adopted Michael. He has no rights, and neither do you. That was when I let out a laugh, not one of amusement, but of utter disbelief at the sheer ridiculousness of it all. Laura, you still don't get it, do you? Michael didn't need to be adopted. He's Jack's son, our son, born long before you even realized what was going on. Her face turned pale, her eyes wide with shock. What? No, that can't be true. You're lying. I walked over to the cabinet and pulled out the drawer stuffed with papers I never imagined I'd have to present. Here, I said, slamming them onto the table. DNA tests, birth certificates, everything's here, clear as day. Jack's the father. He always was. Her hands shook as she picked up the papers, reading them in disbelief. This can't be. But it was. And as the weight of it all settled in, I saw something I never thought I'd witness. Laura, completely shattered. All the anger, the venom, it evaporated, leaving behind a shell of the woman who tormented us. Jack loved Michael, I said, my voice calm and steady. He loved us. And you've spent all this time trying to tear apart what he cared about most. For a brief moment, Laura was speechless, trying to process the revelation. Then, with a scream of frustration, she stormed out, slamming the door behind her. I slumped into a chair, my heart still pounding, but there was a grim satisfaction in knowing the truth was out. Michael peeked through the doorway, his eyes wide. Is she gone, Mom? I nodded and stood up to embrace him. Yes, sweetheart, she's gone, and she won't be bothering us anymore. He hugged me back, his arms trembling, a boy who's seen more than his fair share of turmoil. I wish Dad was here, he murmured. I do too, baby, I do too. But he wasn't here. And now, it was just the two of us against the world, against Laura's greed and malice. But we were stronger than ever. With the truth as our ally, we would face whatever came next, together. Laura's exit after that final confrontation is something I'll never forget. She staggered out, a whirlwind of fury and despair, her cries and threats echoing as she left. The slamming door felt like the end of a chapter, one filled with bitterness and conflict. As the weeks passed, word of Laura's misfortunes began to trickle in. The neighborhood buzzed with stories of her financial collapse. It turned out she'd been betting on a huge payout from Jack's estate, and when that didn't happen, everything came crashing down. One day, Rachel came by, practically bursting with the latest gossip. You heard about Laura, right? She asked, flopping onto the sofa. I sighed, already tired of the subject. A little. Sounds like she's in deep trouble. Rachel's eyes gleamed with the thrill of the latest scandal. Deep? She's buried. Loans, debts, everything. She put it all on Jack's money, and now she's reaping the consequences. I shook my head, a bitter taste rising in my throat. She had it coming. I warned her, but she wouldn't listen. Well, now she's hiding, Rachel added. People are looking for her, and not in a friendly way. She's a ghost, running from everyone she owes. The image of Laura, the woman so full of arrogance and cruelty, now reduced to a fugitive, was a stark contrast. Part of me felt vindicated, but a smaller part, one I wasn't proud of, felt a pang of sympathy. I sighed, rubbing my temples. What a mess. I'm not surprised, but still, it's such a waste, Rachel said, her tone serious. It's a hard lesson, but it shows how quickly everything can fall apart when greed takes over. Our conversation shifted, and life moved on, but Laura's downfall stayed with me. It was a reminder of how easily things can unravel when revenge and desire for power take the wheel. One evening, Michael asked, his voice full of concern, Mom, what's going to happen to Aunt Laura? I looked at him, his face filled with worry. I don't know, sweetheart. She made some bad choices, and now she has to deal with the consequences. As weeks turned into months, Laura's chaos became more of a distant memory. Michael was doing better at school. His smiles returned more often, and his laughter was genuine again. As for me, I was finding my way again, adjusting to life as just the two of us. One evening, as we sat on the porch, watching the sun dip behind the trees, Michael turned to me, his voice suddenly serious. Mom, do you miss Dad? The question caught me off guard, and my throat tightened. Every day, baby, every single day. He nodded, snuggling closer. Me too. But I think we're okay, just the two of us, right? I hugged him tightly, a tear slipping down my cheek, but a smile breaking through. Yeah, kiddo, we're more than okay. We're great. And it was true. Despite all the grief, all the trials, we were moving forward, stronger, closer, and more united than ever. Just then, there was a knock at the door. It was Rachel, her face lighting up as she held up a couple of pizza boxes. I thought you two might be hungry, she said, grinning at Michael. His face brightened, all earlier worries forgotten. Aunt Rachel, you're the best. We gathered around the table, sharing a meal, laughing and enjoying the simple joy of being together. These moments, uncomplicated and full of love, were the ones I cherished most. They reminded me of what we'd overcome and all the good still to come. As we sat in comfortable silence, the night settling around us, I thought about the future. The unknown, the uncertain, but it was ours to shape. And with Michael by my side, I knew we were ready for whatever came next. We were moving on, into a new day with hope and determination, facing whatever the world would throw at us. Together. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Stay amazed.